Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. And what do you think? So, you know, people go on and on about how terrible things are today and how terrible Donnie Chump and how terrible JoJo, the used car salesman, and how terrible, what's his name, and who were basically, guys, you have to realize we're in a game show. And it's basically, you know, people talk about sin. So I'm here at church. I come Sunday to resonate with the community and every day and every way take God's unconditional love as the co creation of the covenant and to experience Jesus' unconditional forgiveness. And that's what love and forgiveness, the foundations of the human experience, are. Now, sin, it's so terrible. Well, God has created everything, right? God created the devil, right? Angel, and, you got to realize that Satan did not eat the apple. Man did, right? Adam and Eve, right? Just ate that apple. God said, you can have everything you want. You can, this is your neck of the woods, except that tree over there, right? And don't eat that fruit. That's the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, the knowledge of good and evil, what is that? That is the opportunity for you to do the wrong thing. While you're in the gated community of Garden of Eden, which is earth. We are still in the Garden of Eden. But because we are tempted to do really stupid things, we basically, chip away at this place, right? And it is our sandbox to learn how to love and co-create with God. How to, in every day and every way, take the peace of the earth of Jesus Christ's forgiveness, right? And, our lesson today was about Paul and that he had all these plans of, he went out there with Barnabas and was hawking Christianity to the Jews and the Gentiles. And, and it all worked out. And he wanted to go back and he went to the same rich cities and everything's doing great. The churches are big, and yes, they had no idea what Christianity was, but it was a great used car, It's, that new car smell, everything about it was really advantageous. And Paul, who was a Pharisee, and, Mark or Luther, one of those guys was a tax collector, and Luke was definitely a doctor, Greek. And they basically were trying to make sense of the teachings of Jesus Christ. They felt the movement of the covenant in their heart. They felt Jesus' unconditional forgiveness. They felt the teachings of Jesus, right? But it was like a silly game of telephone. One person said this, right? And good old Saul, who then became Paul, basically was a used car salesman and advertising agent. If you ever seen that movie Madman, that was Saul, right? And he was killing Christians as fast as he could until he met Jesus on the road to Damascus, right? So all these teachings are really great. The Bible is really great. And it is the Word of God, really, but it's in code because Hebrew was a coded language. No one in Jesus' times, or very few, spoke Hebrew or he could read it, right? But everyone, because Greek was the language of the time, right? So Paul was just wanted to go a second time around to all the rich towns and, get the Greckles and nice meals and all the privileges. And, the Lord had a different idea. And it's about timing. It's about time. It's about space. It's about we're lost in space. We really are. We're lost in space. And this our little planet, the gated, sandbox. You know, we have a number of. We have the Van Allen radiation belt. You go past that, you get barbecued, right? There's the lot of junk. We put a ton of junk into a low Earth orbit. So it's, we put our own gate and we can't get out. The difference between us going to the moon and now is like, it's not so much getting there, it's like getting through all the junk. So it's quite an interesting time we're here. So what do you guys think? How do you feel? What do you feel the Lord's contact? Do you feel the vibration of Jesus' forgiveness? In every day, in every way, do you consciously have intent to communicate with God? Why I do these shows is that I'm communicating with God. I'm that little pebble in the World Wide Web's pond, and you kind of get to be part of it. And if you make, a comment, let's hear it. Let's hear some comments. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. We've been here 6 minutes and 20, 30, 31 seconds. What are you doing with your life today on Sunday? Sunday in Judaism is the first day of work. Judaism has its Sabbath starting Friday sunset all the way through Saturday, right? And so that means that the Jewish Sabbath is celebrated in darkness, right? That's why early on, the early Jews, the early, not, back in the days of begatting, when, you read, and in the beginning, the Gerald days, it was in the beginning, So see that little patch, I'm trying to be, what's his name? Methuselah lived 900 years. Why? Because his stem cells never slept, right? Why we die is because we dull ourselves with materialism, right? Mercantile. I don't know if you've seen this word starting to creep into the vernacular of the corporate state, but I'm noticing more and more corporations as, bullshit mercantile, vomit mercantile, diarrhea mercantile, right? It's kind of getting everyone, exposed to that dynamic of mercantile this and mercantile that, not God's love, not Jesus' forgiveness, but mercantile. Let's buy some more chairs for the church. Hey, Sensei Bob, here I am, Sensei Bob. Stanskunsti, okay, 7404. That's what we're going to know you as. What do you think? What strikes your spiritual taste buds? How feeling? And guys, there's this thing called the Abrahamic religions. Oh, here comes our boy. Hey, Big Daddy, what's shake? What's he doing? Oh, he's lying on the ground. He's got a bad back. And a lot of people, like me, I'm totally beat up from my 14 years of living the corporate world and getting fat. I was fatter than fat, right? I was a poster boy of the corporate excess, right? I remember sitting in the titty bar with a couple girls between my legs and another naked girl peeling grapes for me, and I said to God, is this a sin? And God said, no, this ain't a sin. You are a social scientist, a psychosocial cultural forensic anthropologist, and you are just studying the dynamic of the mercantile spirit. Now, the sin is, look at the guys who you work for. Those your clients, your desperate corporate lawyers. Take a look at them. And I kind of looked at the crowd that I was with, and we were in the VIP lounge and the VIP lounge, and Of course, I could notice all the video cameras that they couldn't see, capturing all of them doing that, you know, fornication, fornication, fornication. Yeah. Now, what is fornication? Is it a no? Fornication is when you turn your back on God, right? I keep talking to God no matter what situation I'm in, and so I'm not that, right? But as God told me that evening, I said, "So is this sin, God?" He goes, "No." But what those guys are doing, they have turned their back on me. You still have a relationship. You're every day in every way taking a piece of your earth and making it stronger. You're talking to me all the time, like I'm doing right now. And what they have done, they have embraced a false god of materialism, of the mercantile soul. Everything is a transactional deal. There is no transactional deal. You can't bargain with God. You just do what God says. So today's lesson, where Paul is going all over to the rich people, getting the good, going to the titty bar and the whole thing, and God said, no, 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 we're going over here. We're not going to Asia where all the big garments are coming. We're not going to go over there. And then, you know, they go to a nice town right on the Silk Road. There's this lady who's all into garments and dyes. I think her name was Lydia. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, she was there and she felt, she understood she needed a connection with God. And she was like out there, didn't know what to do, didn't know how to deal with it. And so what, she was listening to teachings. And those teachings, not Paul, and not how Paul taught, but the teachings of Jesus. And she got them straight. She wasn't getting them secondhand. It wasn't like a game of telephone. It wasn't from some moron monkey. No, it was from God. And she was so touched, it went into her heart. She went home to her, rich family and rich community, and she was an apostle. Didn't matter that she was a woman. It doesn't matter what gender you are when God comes in your heart. No. So, anyway, buddy, he's down. Where is he? He's right there. So he's got a really bad back, and it has been really bad for 2 years. And basically, I was, he was huffing and puffing, doing stuff, and I said, "Watch what?" And he picked up a big, heavy load in an improper way, and he like, bing, stressed out. He didn't break anything. He just stressed something out. And what happened was he opened the door for doubt, and its back got worse and worse and worse. And now what's really going on is Satan is in his back, right? And he is, fretting it and not turning it over to God. Me, I'm a dead man walking. I've died 7 times, and I have constantly, every minute of every day, of every second, I consciously intent my communication with God, right? I am in that covenant, right? So I'm protected. I'm taken care of, right? So right now, yeah, my body hurts, but, it gets better and better because I'm constantly talking to you guys about love's co-creation, right? So let's hear how you're feeling about your connection with God's love and your connection. God's connection to you is a covenant. Covenant is not a mercantile deal. It's not a transaction. Covenant is something that is a we in me situation. And Paul talks about that in this letter, right? And he's talking about how it's the we in me and not me, right? And that he has to get out of the way and that he has to step up to the community's needs in the we by, representing God's unconditional love and offering it to everyone, not just the chosen few, not the guys circumcised, not the guys this, not the guys that. No, nothing written down in the book like the laws, right? So anyway, what are you guys thinking? Thinking about anything? Well, I'm going to let you think about that. And I'm going to come back, okay? Okay, because I appreciate the greetings and salutations, and that a bunch of you were there, but no one seems to want to. But this is just a pebble that I'm putting in the pond, and the little vibrations are going out to all of you, and those vibrations are not my vibrations; they are God's vibrations. This is a collective here. This is a covenant that I am, right? I am the doula, the slave, beyond slave. I am the agape doula, right? Unconditional love, right? I'm there, right? Yes, I'm a stupid monkey boy that can, let my emotions, but, in Jesus Christ's doorway that I always knock on and walk through of forgiveness, that's where we should go. Okay. Sure, you want to